Hey everyone, welcome back to chapter 11, and today we have a short talk on the difference between transitive and intransitive verbs. And you can find this explanation in your book on page 125. Okay, so what's a transitive verb and what's an intransitive verb? Well, it's pretty simple. Transitive means that the verb takes a direct object. There are certain verbs that seem to almost need a direct object to complete their meaning, right? So you ask a question, you have an object, you capture a town, you listen to a story. You can certainly use these verbs without a direct object, but essentially a transitive verb is a verb that can take a direct object, and an intransitive verb course, does not take a direct object. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple examples of transitive and intransitive verbs in Latin. Okay, so in Latin I can say something like amo matrem. Okay, that's I love my mother, which I do, of course. Okay, and so matrem is a direct object, and how do we know this? Well, it's in the accusative case. Okay, right, so it's third declension accusative, matrem, yeah. Okay, or I could say audiebam magistrum. I was listening to the teacher. Okay, and so magistrum here, it's accusative, it's the direct object, it's the direct object of audiebam. Okay, so these are both examples of transitive verbs, right? They take a direct object. Okay, let's give a couple examples of intransitive verbs. Okay, so an intransitive verb in Latin, a good example of that would be maneo. Maneo means to stay, wait, or remain. So I can't stay the house, but I can stay in the house. I can't remain the city, but I can remain in the city. So essentially what happens with intransitive verbs is that you really need a preposition to complete the meaning. So I would say maneo in casa. I stay in the house. Another example of an intransitive verb is kuro, which means to run. Kuro with two R's, which means to run. And so in English, you can run a play, like in football, or you can run a company, or you can run a business. But in Latin, you can't use the verb to run in this way. So if I run, I would run per agros. So here, I run through the fields. Okay. The one other thing that I want to talk about is the verb pugno. Okay, which pugno, of course, means to fight. Pugno is intransitive, which might seem kind of weird to us, right? Because you fight people all the time, right? So how does that work in Latin? Well, if you use the verb pugno, you really need to use a preposition with it. So you need to say, for instance, here's an example. Okay, Romani cum hostibus pugnabant. Okay, and so the Romans were fighting with the enemies. You can also use the preposition contra to express this. And so I think the example that we have in the book, and I'll put this up here, is gladiator cum leone pugnat. Okay, and this would be the gladiator is fighting the lion, or the gladiator is fighting with the lion. So in English we would say the gladiator is fighting the lion, but that seems like it's a direct object, which it is in English, but in Latin we have to have the cum, and then of course since we have cum, remember that the object of cum always has to be in the ablative. Okay, and that's it for this talk, and thanks for tuning in, and see you again next time.